Hello and welcome back to The Spiritual Nest. I'm Hetty Sessions, and today we're going to be discussing 5 mistakes people make when going to a psychic. The first thing that I want to point out is I am fully aware of how emotional, how terrifying and how moving a read can be, and I know that it takes a lot for some people to get the courage together to go and see a psychic. Here are a couple of pointers that I think would massively help you to get the best out of your reads. Okay, point number 1, the first thing I want you to remember, I always say never ever do spirit and spirit. I have a lot of people that come to read to me, and I know that sometimes a little bit of Dutch courage is what is required, but take it from me, to be able to get the most from your read, I want you to be completely sober. There's a couple of reasons why. The first is it makes it really difficult for me to be able to connect with your energy if there is a man-made substance in between us or a chemically made substance between us. So to have a clear mind and a clear heart is something that I really recommend when you go into your psychic read. Like I said, I know it can be really, really scary and really daunting, and some people just like to take the edge off a little bit, but trust me, it is a lot easier for a psychic if there are no spirits or any other substance involved when it comes to having a spiritual read. So number 1, do not do spirit and spirit. Number 2, something again that people make a really big mistake with is going to see their psychic and having a real shut off kind of an energy. I read for hundreds of people every month, and it's a lot easier to read for somebody who comes in that is very open and ready to receive messages, that someone comes in arms crossed, yes, no answers. Imagine it's like trying to describe somebody but you're only half seeing them. It's really, really difficult. So I always start off my reads by trying to make a joke, and I do it to loosen up my clients so they feel a bit more comfortable with me. You have to remember that us psychics, we meet so many people every single day. On average, I do about 10 appointments. I do that 6 times a week. That's 60 people a week that I meet. So I'm old hat. I'm completely comfortable talking to a brand new person, but I get that some people, it's scary, it's daunting, especially when you're trusting us implicitly. So something that I recommend, a little bit of meditation beforehand. If you don't meditate, just sit and just relax yourself. We as psychics, it's our job to carry the conversation. It's my job to help you feel comfortable with me. So I will do everything and anything to make you feel comfortable. Like I said, for me, it's humor. I try and pull in a couple of jokes before we start. It's just about getting you to loosen up. I will never ever say, hello, right, let's get started. I will always try and loosen my client up so that if you've had a read with me, and now you know why I start talking about the most randomest of things, it's just to make you feel comfortable. It's really hard when someone comes and the arms are folded and I can feel that standoffishness. You don't go to a psychic to test them. You go to a psychic to connect to the other side, and something that will massively help is if you loosen up, if you go with an open heart, an open mind, and just relax yourself. Trust your psychic. That is a really, really important factor to remember. If the trust is there, the read will be more enjoyable and it will be more accurate. Point number 3, another mistake that people make is that they come to me and ask really, really direct questions to the other side. If you've watched my other videos, you know that spirit doesn't always come to me and say, hey, in my ear. It doesn't work like that. I wish it would. It would be a hell of a lot easier, but it doesn't. So don't go to your psychic, and it's happened in the past where people will say, okay, what's our password? And as a psychic, our hearts literally plummet, because we know that spirit isn't going to turn to us and say, our password is Santa Fe. It doesn't work like that. As an example, I have a lovely client that I read for regularly. Really beautiful man, really beautiful energy. His mum always comes through, and I've read for him for a couple of times, and he is a really open person. He's very open to spirituality, and we always have a really good time, and his reads are really accurate. Last time I read for him, he said to me, okay, Het, I want to ask you something. I want you to tell me what the nickname is that I gave mum. and he knows me, and he could obviously tell by my face, my heart went, oh, crumbs. Because his mum won't turn to me and say, he used to call me blah, blah, blah. Instead, what she did is she started showing me snippets of what I knew to be Beatrix Potter. And I said to him, sweetheart, you're going to have to leave that one with me, because I'm just getting shown things, but I'm going to have to do a little bit of digging. I don't know. I can't sit here and say to you, you used to call your mum this, because what she's showing me, I don't even know where to begin. So she kept on showing me things to do with Beatrix Potter, and then it was kind of filtering down to the woman of Beatrix Potter. So I was like, I don't know. I said, and I messaged him. I said, did you call her Beatrice? No. Did you call her Potter? No. Did you call her Beatrix Potter? No. Right, okay. So after a long time, and I'm not just talking a couple of hours, I am talking weeks and weeks of me taking time out of my schedule to sit and to connect with his mum, we managed to get to a point where it was something to do with Beatrix Potter herself, her life. And I'm going to cut a really, really long story short. He called his mum Mrs. Wiggins. Miss Wiggins. Miss Wiggins was Beatrix Potter's chaperone. I didn't know that. God love Google. Thank you, universe, for Google, because that's how we managed to get to the point of it. And it wasn't until I had done some serious digging and I'd found Beatrix Potter's life and then chaperone Mrs. Wiggins, and that intuition was like, that's it. That is what I've been looking for. So when I say, please don't go to your psychic and say, what was the nickname that we called our cat, because spirit doesn't communicate how me and you communicate, you're never going to get the answer that you want. And like I said, that's a rarity. I've never ever sat there and thought, I want to get this for my client. It was something that I kind of wanted to push myself to do. It's not something that I do, but the amount of energy that I essentially used and wasted, it was all worth it in the end, because he was like, oh yes, that's it, and that makes me so happy. We could take that, we could go away with that. And so he was happy. But please, one huge mistake is people say, tell me, and they ask a really direct question. Do not do that. Like I said, it's not enjoyable for you because you don't get the direct answer you want. Spirit doesn't communicate that way, and us as psychics, and we do. If we don't get something, we will almost like punish ourselves. Like, oh, why didn't I get it? I should have got that. Come on. And then we end up with some like real bad like in our head, a big knot in our head, because we didn't give our client exactly what they were looking for. So a big no-no is do not ask direct questions. Mistake number 4 is that people presume we know exactly what we're talking about. And I know that's a weird thing to say, but because spirit never says to us, okay, this is the beginning of message 1, end of message 1, I'm now start talking about message 2. We never know where one message starts and one stops. It's just a continuous conveyor belt of messages. So if we're talking about Brother John, and spirit will give us the name John, for example, and oh yes, my client will be like, oh yes, that's my brother. Okay, perfect. And then a spirit then starts talking about someone that gambles, let's say. We don't know that we're talking about John still, or we could be talking about something completely different. We're never sure what we're on about. And I always say that I live in a world of complete oblivion. Like, I don't know what any of these messages mean, but I always say they don't have to mean anything to me. And that's fine. I'm cool with that. As long as they mean something to you, to my client, then that is what matters. And if you can go away thinking, yeah, you know what, that made sense, fabulous, then perfect, then my job here is done. And that kind of goes back to our previous mistake about being open. Please, if it doesn't make sense, tell your psychic, I don't know what you're on about. Because then that way, then we can go, okay, well, let's look at this from a different angle. You know, when spirit shows us a message, that's our message. Is it because it's a pen? Is it because it's brown? Is it because the thing has broken off? Like, at what point are we looking at? So be honest, be open. Just don't presume we know what we're talking about. In other words, you know, we are the mailman. We deliver the message, and it's your job to click it in the right place. The last mistake that people make is when you go to a psychic and you don't hear from the people that you want to hear from. And I know that that can be a really, really disappointing. I know it can be heartbreaking, because our client then goes away thinking, well, why didn't they come through? And I always say, you know, again, it's about being open with your psychic. If you were looking for someone in particular and they didn't come through, I want you to know it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that they're lost. It doesn't mean that they don't love you. It doesn't mean they don't want to communicate with you. There could be 100 million reasons why your energy hasn't come through today in that read. One piece of advice I will give you is, if you're looking for somebody, prior to your appointment, always say, for me, for example, okay, Dad, I'd love to talk to you today. I would really, really love, please go through to the psychic. Any messages, anything you want to say at all, I am open. I'm ready to hear it. Come through with love. I'm ready to receive. It's always a good way to let your energies know that you want to communicate with them. If it's the first time with a psychic and your person doesn't come through, doesn't mean that the psychic isn't any good, not at all. It could be that we're on different frequencies where we're not able instantly to pick up on your energy. It could be that your energy doesn't feel like you're ready to start receiving messages. So what I say is, if it's the first time you go to a psychic, give them the benefit of the doubt. Go in open, ready to receive messages. I'm ready to see whoever comes through, whatever they've got to say to me, I'm ready. I'm going to listen. I will take it all on board. And then if you've not heard from the one person that you really want to hear from, then that's fine. That's okay. Say to your psychic, oh, you know what? Thank you for a read. I can take a lot of that away. I will go and digest it all. I was really looking for Dad, for me, for example. I was looking for my dad. Your psychic, they will then should turn around and say, okay, well, and this is what I say, so that's what I'm using as an example. Okay, well, I've shown you what I can do today. Next time, if you want to have another read with me prior, just send me a photo of your loved one that you're looking for. And it's a lot easier for us to have a starting point, somewhere that we can look at and go, okay, this is who we want to find. I can now go over to the other side and try and find them. It's about connecting the energies together. So don't feel disheartened. Please don't feel disappointed. Please don't think it's anything that you've done. Like I said, if you're going in with an open heart and you're going in to ready to receive messages, it's nothing that you have done at all. Some energies don't want to communicate, and that's what it boils down to. Considering I do this for a living, my dad has never come through to me. Do I take it personally? No, I do not. I know that my dad has crossed over and he's on the other side, and he's very much at peace on the other side. And he has no need to come over to give me messages currently. Who knows, one day he might be able to give me some great guidance. As of yet, no. My dad's been gone a long time, so it's not like anything to do with him not long being crossed over or anything like that. So please don't be disheartened, don't be disappointed. Just be really honest with your psychic. You need to have a really, really good bond with your psychic. You need to trust your psychic. You need to be open with them. There needs to be some form of relationship or connection, like you would with your hairdresser or your tattooist or your barber. You know, there has to be that mutual trust. There has to be a connection. If you go to a psychic and you just think, I don't know what it is, I don't particularly like her or him or them, I don't feel there's a bond there, then that's fine. You know what? You've tried them. If it's not for you, then move on to somebody else. One more point that is a huge mistake that people make going to psychics is not subscribing to the Spiritual Nest. Subscribe onto the channel and keep your eyes out for more videos to do with spirituality, to do with mediumship, to do with slow living as well. That's something that I'll be touching on in the near future. Take all of this into consideration, digest it all, and think next time you have your spiritual read, remember these points. To summarise, sober, always good. Go in with an open heart. Don't go in shut off. Don't go in with that big high brick wall in front of you. Don't ask direct questions. Big no, because you'll be disappointed and it's blinking hard work, and it doesn't work like that. Don't presume we know what we're talking about. Oblivion, remember that. And then finally, don't be disappointed if the person that you're desperately trying to connect to doesn't come through the first time. and always subscribe. If you've enjoyed this video, click like below. Don't forget to subscribe to The Spiritual Nest for more videos, and switch on your notifications so every time one's uploaded, you're the first in the know. Have a beautiful day or night wherever you are. Love and light.